Hey everyone, welcome to MJ English. I'm Jason, and before we get into our chat today, I just have to be totally honest with you all. For the longest time, I had this massive mental block. It was just stuck in my head. I was absolutely convinced that to actually master English, I had to pack my bags, quit my job, and move to some tiny, overpriced apartment in New York or a cramped flat in London. I thought geography was basically destiny when it came to learning a language. I figured, well, I don't live there, so I'm just gonna be stuck at this weird intermediate level forever. But it's actually incredibly common. It's the classic geography myth. People tell themselves, I don't live in an English-speaking country, so fluency is impossible. And it's probably the number one reason people just give up or plateau and stay average. But if we really look at the mechanics of learning, here is the reality check. Geography is not magic. Buying a plane ticket doesn't automatically download a language into your brain like a software update. I mean, I've met people who lived abroad for years, like 5 or 10 years, and they still struggle to order a coffee or have a basic chat at a bar. So if it's not about location, what are we actually looking at today? Because we are unpacking some incredible methods that can metaphorically improve your speaking by 300% without leaving the house. So what is the secret? Well, what's fascinating is that this approach flips the script entirely. The core philosophy here is that you don't need a native speaker sitting next to you 24/7, and you don't need to breathe the air in Sydney or Toronto. What you need is a shift in habit. It's not about where you are, it's about what you do. It's about environment design rather than travel plans. The whole idea centers on small, smart actions. I love that. It sounds way less intimidating than, studying for 4 hours a day until your eyes bleed. The goal isn't to overhaul your entire life or become some monk studying grammar rules in a cave. It's about integrating English into the life you already have. We're going to look at 5 very specific practical methods to do this today. And if you follow these, within 6 months, your speaking ability will basically skyrocket. All right, let's get into it. Tip number 1 involves something we all do, but maybe not effectively enough, the input engine, or simply listening. Now, when I hear listening practice, I immediately get flashbacks to school. Sitting in a dead quiet room with a clunky headset, stressing out about a multiple choice test. But that's not what we are talking about here. That is the exam mindset. We need to swap that out for the immersion mindset. There's a crucial distinction here. It's about frequency over duration. Frequency over duration meaning what exactly? Meaning it's not about sitting at a desk once a week for a 3-hour listening session where you painfully analyze every single word. It's about daily input every single day. So consistency is king. But people always say to me, Jason, I'm busy. I have a job, I have kids, I have a life. Where on earth do we find this time? You find it in the in-between moments. This is the secret weapon. You don't carve out new time in your schedule.
你有跟上未来金融技术的趋势吗？派网带你剖析最新的 RWA 技术与24小时自动化工具。现在立刻点击说明栏连结，深入了解派网全新技术是如何改变数位资产的管理逻辑，并领取独家专属新年好礼哦。
This is the secret weapon. You don't carve out new time in your schedule. You use the dead time, waiting for the bus, taking a shower, doing chores like washing the dishes or working out at the gym. These are moments where your hands are busy, but your ears are completely free. I really like the idea of learning while washing dishes. It makes the chores feel a little less painful, like I'm multitasking my way to self-improvement. But here's a question. When I'm doing chores, I can't focus 100%. The water's running, I'm scrubbing a pan. If I miss a word or I zone out for a second, doesn't that ruin the practice? No, not at all. And that is a huge relief for a lot of learners. You don't need to understand everything that is being said. Really, that's not the goal of this type of immersion. The goal is what we call prosodic familiarity. You want your ears to get used to the natural speed, the rhythm, and the intonation of real speech, getting away from that robotic textbook English where everyone speaks very slowly and clearly. Textbooks are slow, sanitized, and perfect. Real life is messy, it's fast and slurred together. By listening to podcasts, songs, or simple news for just 10 to 15 minutes a day in the background, you're creating an immersion environment. You're training your brain to stop panicking when it hears fast English. You're calibrating your ears. It's like background radiation, but good for you. You're just soaking it in. So we're soaking it in, but eventually we have to actually open our mouths. We can't just listen forever, which brings us to tip number 2, the physical workout. And the technique here is called shadowing. Shadowing. It sounds a bit mysterious, maybe even a little creepy, like you're stalking someone in an alleyway. It does sound like that, but it is hands down one of the most effective techniques for speaking. So how does it actually work? Am I just repeating words after I hear them? It's a bit more precise and honestly more aggressive than that. Here's the mechanism. You listen to a sentence, maybe from a podcast or a YouTube video, and you repeat it immediately, like right over them. You don't wait for the sentence to finish and then try to summarize it. You are shadowing them. You're right behind them, almost talking over them. And here's the strict rule. Do not stop. Do not translate. Do not check a dictionary. That sounds intense. No dictionary? What if I don't even know what I'm saying? What if I'm basically just making noises? It doesn't matter yet. The goal here isn't vocabulary acquisition. It's mimicry. You are trying to match the speaker's speed, their tone, and their rhythm exactly. Think of it like a gym workout for your mouth, the gym for your tongue, because we often forget that speaking is a physical act, right? We tend to treat language like it's purely mental, like it's math, but speaking involves muscles. Your jaw, your tongue, your throat, they all need to move in specific ways to make English sounds that might not even exist in your native language. If you only read silently, those muscles never get a workout. Shadowing forces the brain and the mouth to coordinate. It's athletic training. I can imagine this feeling really awkward at first, just sitting alone in my room, parroting someone else, making these weird noises. It feels incredibly strange at first. You feel totally silly. You'll stumble, you'll mumble, and you won't understand every word. But you have to push through the awkwardness, because that awkward feeling is the growth happening. The focus is on the sound and the flow. If you do this for just 5 minutes a day, you stop sounding like a robot and start sounding like a real person. Smoothness over perfection. So we're listening and we're mimicking, but there's a huge barrier that happens before a single word even leaves our mouths. It's all inside our heads. Tip number 3 is about rewiring the internal monologue. This is the translation trap. I see this all the time with learners. Someone asks you a question in English, your brain hears it, translates it into your native language, formulates an answer in your native language, translates that back into English, and then finally sends it to your mouth. And that is exactly why there's that awkward 5-second silence where you just stand there looking like you've forgotten your own name. The little loading wheel is spinning in your eyes. That processing delay is an absolute killer for fluency. It breaks the entire flow of the conversation. We need to cut out the middleman. We need to start thinking in English, which sounds great on paper, but it also sounds really hard. Just think in English. It's like telling someone, hey, just be funny. How do you even start doing that if you aren't fluent yet? You start small, very small. We call them tiny thoughts. Don't try to debate philosophy or politics in your head. Just start with narrating your immediate physical reality. What does a tiny thought actually look like? You wake up in the morning, instead of thinking in your native language, you deliberately force the thought, "Good morning, I am awake." You step outside, you look at the sky and think, "The weather is nice." You're sitting down for lunch and you think, "I am hungry." It's my constant internal monologue anyway, so that's an easy one for me to switch over to. But the point is, these are simple, direct connections. You see the food, you think hungry. There is no translation layer. Once you get comfortable with these silent thoughts, you can progress to whispering them to yourself and then speaking them softly to yourself as you walk around your house. It eliminates that processing delay. So when you're in a real conversation, the words are already right there at the surface. Moving on to tip number 4. This connects back to the physical aspect, but it's really about performance, reading out loud. Now, I read a ton, but it's almost always silent. Are you telling me I've been doing it wrong this whole time? Not wrong for reading comprehension, no, but definitely wrong for speaking practice. When we read silently, we cheat. We skip over the hard pronunciations. We see a word like kernel or schedule or Worcestershire, and we know what it means in our head, but we don't actually have to prove we can say it out loud. Reading out loud forces the connection between the eyes, the brain, and the tongue. You can't hide from the difficult words. It's the ultimate stress test. So what is the strategy here? Do we just grab a newspaper and shout it at the living room wall? You could, but there's a much better way. We recommend a 3-step technique using a short text, maybe a kid's book or a simple beginner story. 3 steps.
Step 1. Read it slowly. Focus purely on clarity and getting the pronunciation right. Don't rush it at all. Just be mechanical about it. Slow and steady like a machine. Step 2. Read that exact same text again, but faster. Pick up the pace to a normal speaking rate. Try to find the natural flow of the sentences. Step 3 is my absolute favorite part. Read it with feeling. The acting phase. Pretend you're a character in a movie. Add real emotion. If the character in the story is angry, you need to sound angry. If they are excited, sound genuinely excited. That sounds like a lot of fun, actually. And this isn't just for fun. It breaks that monotone reading voice that learners often have. It helps you find the actual music and rhythm in the language. And I bet it builds a lot of confidence, too, because if you can act it out alone in your room, you probably feel a bit more ready to use that emotion in a real-life situation. It's a safe space. You get to experiment with intonation without the pressure of a real person staring at you, waiting for a response. You can be super dramatic in your bedroom, so you can be completely natural in the boardroom. All right, we've got 4 solid tips down. But this last one, this is really the glue that holds it all together. Tip number 5 is lifestyle integration. This is the philosophy of the ecosystem. English shouldn't be a subject that you visit for an hour a day and then leave behind. It needs to be the environment you actually live in. And we have 5 really clever micro tactics to make this happen. Let's run through them. Tactic A is something everyone listening can do right now, and I know it scares people. Digital immersion. Change your phone's language settings to English. I know it sounds trivial, but think about how many times you look at your phone a day. 50, 100 times? Probably more like 200 for me. And every single time, you will see words like camera, messages, alarm, settings, and contacts constantly. It's passive vocabulary reinforcement. You learn these words without even trying because you literally have to use them to navigate your daily life. I actually did this once and I panicked because I couldn't find the calculator app. But you eventually figured it out and then you never forget it. It forces you to learn the interface. Tactic B is the micro-journal. This helps with writing and thinking. You don't need to write a massive novel or a deep emotional diary entry. Just write a few simple sentences a day about what happened. Like what? Like, I woke up early. I bought a sandwich. It was hot today. The sandwich was good. Very simple. And here's a social twist to make it better. Text these sentences to a friend who is also learning English, or post it on a private social media account. Turning it into real communication, making it social makes it real, but keeping it simple is the key so you don't get burned out after a week. Tactic C. Now this one is for the brave. The voice note diary. This one is incredibly powerful. Record a 1-minute voice message on your phone at the end of the day. Just talk into your phone. I cooked pasta for dinner. I felt tired. Work was crazy today. No one else ever has to hear it. Wait, what's the benefit of recording it if no one ever hears it? The feedback loop. When you listen back to yourself, you hear things you simply didn't notice when you were speaking in the moment. You spot your own patterns. Like realizing you keep messing up a certain word. You might hear it and think, oh, I keep forgetting the past tense. It helps you self-correct in a totally private, low-stakes way. You essentially become your own pronunciation coach. It is definitely painful to hear your own voice on a recording, but it clearly works. Moving on to tactic D, which definitely appeals to my short attention span, short-form content. TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, we're all watching them anyway. We're all scrolling, but instead of mindlessly scrolling, you make it active. Watch a clip, maybe it's 15 or 20 seconds long. Pause it and mimic the sentence the person just said. And the cool thing here is the specific type of language you get. It's usually slang, it's casual, it's fast, and it is culturally relevant. It's real English, not the formal, stiff stuff you see in textbooks. It's fun, it's fast, and it is super easy to fit into your day. Finally, Tactic E, the mobile vocabulary notebook. This replaces the old-school flashcards we all used to hate. Keep a simple list on your phone's note app. When you see a word in an ad, on a street sign, or in a video, write it down immediately. So no more memorizing massive lists from a textbook. Only capture words you actually encounter in your real life. Context makes memory much stickier. So if I see an ad for a crunchy chicken and I don't know what crunchy means, I write it down right then. And because you saw the picture of the chicken, you'll remember what crunchy means so much better than if it was just word number 45 on a random list of adjectives. You have a visual anchor. I love that. Really makes the whole world your classroom. So looking at all of this together, listening, shadowing, thinking, reading aloud, and integration, it really reinforces that idea that you don't need a plane ticket to get fluent. You don't. Fluency isn't about a massive overhaul of your geography. It's about these small 5 habits. If you listen, shadow, think, read aloud, and integrate, the cumulative effect over a few months is massive. You are building an English ecosystem right where you are. It really shifts the perspective entirely. It feels a lot less like learning a school subject and more like just living your life. That is exactly the shift we want to make. English stops being a chore or a task on your to-do list. It becomes a friend you hang out with every day. You wake up with it, you check your phone with it, you talk to yourself with it. That is where true fluency actually grows. It's a relationship, not a chore. And here's a thought I'd love for our listeners to mull over today, connecting this to the bigger picture. If you actually do this, if you change your internal monologue to English and you change your entire digital environment to English, at what point does your personality slightly shift to match the language? We often hear that people feel like they are a slightly different person in a different language. Maybe they find they are more direct or more polite or even more outgoing when they speak English. If you're shadowing these confident native speakers and constantly narrating your life in English, Does speaking a different language eventually make you a slightly different version of yourself? That's a fascinating thought. Are you a cooler, more confident version of yourself in English? I guess there's only one way to really find out. You just have to start speaking. You have to put in the reps to meet that version of yourself. So here's our challenge to you listening right now. Don't try to do all 5 of these things tomorrow. You'll just burn out. Definitely. Just pick one. Just change your phone language right now. Or try the tiny thought thing while you make breakfast tomorrow morning. Just take one small action. Start small. Start today. Thanks for hanging out with us on MJ English. We'll see you next time.